What's good, everyone? Today we're going to be reacting to my 2025 AFL season predictions. Normally I dread this sort of content, but this time around I'm actually feeling not too bad about it. So for those that are unaware or might be new to this particular series, I've been reacting to my predictions every year since 2020, and every single year my score has gotten worse. So in 2020 I started with 46, then it went up to like 68, then it kept on going up to the 70s, and I believe last year was my worst year of them all, where I think I got 82. Obviously, don't get worse than 82, but I reckon we could have a genuine shot at breaking the 46 mark that I got in 2020. Let's go through the predictions, see how well off I went, and hopefully feeling good at the end of the video. So the team to finish 18th, my wooden spooners for 2025, I've got Carlton. So you can see the scarf in the background. I went Carlton as a joke. Funnily enough, it actually wouldn't have been that far off. Yeah, obviously Richmond, they're my wooden spooners. I did go Richmond. I mean, no surprises. I knew this one the whole year that I went Richmond at 18th, and they ended up finishing 17th. So off to a solid start. I think everyone would have had Richmond 18th. They exceeded expectations really well. Won like 4 games, I think. 17th, West Coast. I don't really see where the improvements are going to come from West Coast heading into 2025. West Coast 17th. Yep, cool. I'm happy with that. That's another 1 place difference. Would have been a bit disappointed if I had West Coast higher. I never really rated West Coast heading into 2025. A few people had West Coast climbing outside the bottom 4. I thought their losses, especially Barras and, retirees, McGovern, injuries didn't help their cause. They had a stinker of a year, to be honest, the Eagles. Waterman, he had an awesome year in 2024, but I don't know if he's going to be able to fully replicate that season in 2025. And if that's the case, where are they going to get their goals from? Well, he didn't. He got injured, and I mean, I was right on that. Waterman, I didn't even mention Allen, but obviously Allen barely played. So I was pretty spot on with West Coast, to be honest. I didn't see any improvement from the Eagles, and you could sort of make the argument they got worse. 16th, Melbourne. Yeah, this one could potentially come back to really haunt me here. No, it hasn't. So Melbourne ended up finishing 14th, and they were projected to maybe finish lower when they went 0-5. So really, really good. And let's have a look to see why I had the D so low. They still have quite a lot of talent left from their premiership squad. Not anymore. And a lot of people are buying in on potentially a Petrarca, maybe even a Brownlow contention season with Oliver coming back. Now they're both going to be gone, that's even more laughable. Now, I'm glad I didn't jump on board the Melbourne bandwagon trend. If anyone had them close to the 8, you're kidding yourself. Melbourne, you could see coming from a mile away. Things were never going to click. Culturally, nothing clicked for the Ds, and I think they're going to finish bottom 4 next year. 15th, I have North Melbourne. I kind of really wanted to put them outside the bottom 4. I did in my early predictions. Luckily, I didn't put them outside of my bottom 4 because, once again, North Melbourne didn't do enough to impress. They escaped the bottom 2 for the first time since 2020 or 2019, but ultimately, not enough of an improvement for the Kangaroos. Like the bottom 2, that's only one off the correct ladder position in 16th. Now, I know the bottom 4 is normally probably the easiest to predict, but we've only got 5 points. That's a great start. That's a terrific start. Happy with the most of the things I said there on the bottom 4, but it does get tougher from here on in, so I'm expecting the points to start going up a little bit. 14th position, I've got Port Adelaide. Look, I've started phenomenally. I mean, Port Adelaide finished 13th, and, they were only 1 position away again from finishing in the spot that I predicted. So from the bottom 5, every single one has been 1 off, and I'm on 6. That's a really, really good start. That is a sensational start. I just didn't think Port Adelaide were going to really have much of a rise in 2026. I thought their end was disappointing. Losing Houston was a loss. Wasn't much of a gain for Collingwood. I thought they were overrated. I thought they were going to drop off. It was obviously a bit of a big call, but there's normally a team in the top 4 that does make a bit of a fall. I thought it'd be Port. I was bang on. It's Ken's last year under the succession plan, so I could see it going either way. They could either really want to try and win a flag for Ken, which I still don't think they're capable of. I was right again with that. I thought the succession plan was a bit of a shitty idea. It certainly was. Didn't achieve much at all, and they were really, really lazy in some games. They just gave up. They didn't have the ability to want to fight out and finish a game. So Port in 14th, we are looking good. 13th spot, I've got Essendon. They've actually jumped a few spots. The Bombers in 13th position. Now, that's actually one of my worst calls so far, and it's still a good call. They ended up finishing 15th, but we all know the injury concerns and issues that the Bombers had. So do you let them off for that? If it wasn't for those injury problems, they probably would have finished higher. So 13th could have been even more bang on. The plays they have coming through, I mean, Sardis, Caddy, Kako, geez, if they continue to play like they did against Geelong in that practice game, man, Essendon will be a finals contender and could honestly even win a final. Look, Kako wasn't massive in 2025, a bit overhyped, I guess, heading into the year, but they didn't have any dependence on him because they just didn't have anyone on the park ultimately. So they started well. It wouldn't have been a bad call. I'm still really happy with the spot that I had the Bombers in, and we're only on 8 points and we're up to 12th. So that's the bottom 6 done. In 12th position, we have another finalist from last year in the Western Bulldogs. So the Doggies in 12th. It actually sounds a lot worse than what it really is. That's only a 3-point differential. So it's the most so far in the video, but a 3-point differential isn't terrible. I'm not too sure why I had them so low given the quality of the Bulldogs list, but at the end of the day, they didn't make finals, so they failed regardless. I think having the Dogs to finish outside the 8 ultimately is a pretty good call, but probably the worst call so far in the video. It seems like they should always be performing better than they end up performing. Still true. It's hard now for this season, at least to start things off with the Bulldogs because of all their injuries. They've got one of the worst injury lists in the comp at the moment. Yeah, so the injuries was the main reason why a lot of people had them falling a little bit, and they did pretty well to start okay, and then when the players came back, they didn't really have too much worries with the injuries. They got their players back in good form. They weren't great against top 8 sides this year. High scoring, exciting, entertaining, but they just couldn't get the job done. I think their bottom 6 players are still a big concern. They've got great stars and all that, but they've probably got to fix up on that area a little bit. Next up, in 11th, we have St Kilda. Saints in 11th. Where did they finish? They finished 12th. I'm not biased. People think that I just have the Saints in the 8 every year. I was realistic heading into this season. I didn't expect heaps. I thought it was going to be probably a year of still progression, a bit of excitement. I didn't think King was going to be injured all year, to be honest. So, you know, that was a bit disappointing. But 11th, I'm going to hold on what I think of the Saints for 2026 because this is a reaction of 2025. But it's a 1-point difference. So we haven't had a stinker call yet. I feel like we're not talented enough to be in the 8, but we're probably too good of a side to not finish bottom 6. So we're sort of in that weird position, like not really doing much. But I think we're developing quite nicely with a lot of our youngsters. Exactly right with the Saints. You don't want to be that position. If you don't have somewhere to go in the future, no man's land when you can't contend against the top sides, but against the bottom sides, you're too good for them. I think we're going to really have a big rebound year next year, and I think we're going to really progress quicker because of all the recruits we have and players that are coming through. I'm excited to see Wangani Milera again. I think he'll get a first Wangani Milera. First year All-Australian, baby. 10th position, this is where I really do have Carlton. I'm not too sold on the Blues heading into this season. I'm applauding that because I reckon, still heading into this year, most people probably had the Blues in the finals. They probably thought, bit of a disappointing 2024 finish, but they'll propel. They've got the list. They're so average. They're going to be average for a very long time, probably worse next year. But in 2025, they just, I don't know, they just weren't good. They just weren't good enough. They're not as good as they think they are. That's another difference of 1. We haven't got any bang on yet, but we're just ticking along these ones, and we are only at 13 bloody points. Charlie Kerner, who probably won't be in the side till round 4. He probably might not be in the side next year. Get stuffed, Carlton. The side unlucky not to play finals is, once again, Gold Coast. Oh, man. I remember doing this last year, and I was really wanting to put them in the 8. I did it the year before, I think, but they obviously failed. And I think I just couldn't trust them. I just didn't have the faith. But realistically, I had deep down thoughts that they were going to do it because of their fixture. Now, the Suns, they ended up finishing, I think it was 7th. That still isn't that bad. Like, when we're talking differentials, I had them around the ballpark. From 10th to 18th, every single side I had that didn't play finals predicted didn't end up playing finals in 2025. So the first and probably only side I missed with the finals, I'm happy. Really happy. Hopefully I had Sydney a little bit down lower as well. Yeah, the reason sort of why I don't have them in it is just because it's Gold Coast. Like, what's the faith in having Gold Coast in the 8? It's true. What is the faith? And I generally thought they were going to screw up the position in the 8 for most of the year. They somehow held on, but that loss against the Power really made a lot of Suns fans nervous. But they made finals, so congratulations to the Suns. But saw the development. They were definitely in the right spot to make the 8. They ended up making it. I was just not quite gutsy enough to have him in my 8. You know, you've got Noah Anderson taking up the captaincy role. It looks like he's set for a massive year. I think he makes the All-Australian squad. Mate, some of these bangers, I don't know if that's a huge call, but this year was his first selection of the All-Australian squad. So I had Naz, I had Anderson. Did I say Rao to win the Brownlow at all? And obviously their away form was a really big concern last year. They started 0-9 away. So if they can pick up some more results away from home, like they played West Coast round 1. They did that at least this year against the shit sides. At least they were able to get wins away. Well, except for Richmond, the one time I needed them to win, and it cost me a Frankson overnight stream. All right, we move into the top 8. We start things off with Sydney. I'm not even angry because of all of the spots that I had remaining left for Sydney, they are the lowest teams remaining that I haven't predicted yet. I had them for the 8. They finished 10th. So just like the Suns, that's a difference of 2. Really not that bad. Like, I'm seriously impressed with how I predicted this ladder so far. Genuinely, I could be set for a world record score. So still probably will be a lot of mental scars after their loss against Brisbane in the grand final, like in 2022, with a lot of the same players experiencing it twice, sometimes 3 times. I mean, it's true. Every time a side loses in the grand final by a big margin, they have a terrible year the year after. The Cats could be in trouble in 2026. It looks like Tom McCartan's move up forward is a really good plan because he kicked 4 in the preseason game. Amadi looks like he's had a solid preseason. In 7th position, I've got Hawthorn. I know a lot of their fans are going to really be annoyed with me putting them there, but that just goes to show how cocky and arrogant some of them have been. They ended up finishing, I think it was 8th. Man, I've been one off that many times. I reckon that could be 5 or 6. Hawks in 7th is also a good call because a lot of people were overrating Hawthorn, thinking they were definitely top 4. I know they ended up finishing in the prelims this year, but again, really happy in the area, in the ballpark. I just feel like with the Hawks this year, there'll be a lot more eyes on them and they have way more expectation than they did last time. Exactly right. They didn't have any expectations when they were midway through 2024. They just went on that random run of games where they just completely clicked. And teams really didn't know how to figure that out until 2025 when they put a little more effort in studying the Hawks, realizing their strengths. And that's why they weren't winning against some of the better sides. Okay, this is a bit of a call. In 6th position, I've actually put in Adelaide. I had the Crows in 6th. I was waiting for the Crows. I knew I had expectations of them heading into this year, but ultimately, in a way, I underestimated the Crows. They were minor premiers. I think they would have ended up finishing 5th or 6th after the finals. But look, this is probably going to be my worst call for the video, and it's almost one of the best calls. I've seen dickheads put the Crows in their bottom 4. And to have them 6th is pretty remarkable, to be honest, when you think about it. I just had hope for the Crows. They finished bottom 4 last year. I thought they recruited well. I thought they were going to bounce back after a shit 2024, make Adelaide Oval a fortress, and they did exactly that. I just wasn't gutsy enough to have them that high, which... Was anyone going to have Adelaide first? I still think this is fine, even though it was 5 spots away. Their preseason, I feel like they've done well in recruiting 3 really solid players in Neil Bullen, Cumming, Peatling. They seem like they're all going to be perfectly slotted into the side. Yeah, they were great additions, particularly Neil Bullen. Particularly Alex Neil Bullen with his... Riley Thilthorpe, how good does he look? And it looks like he can clunk anything at any time. And geez, he's got a good set shot for goal as well. I think could be a chance at maybe being a sneaky Coleman. I was really big on Thilthorpe as well heading into 2025. He was partly a reason why I thought they were going to make a big rise. And I thought Thilthorpe's years was great, and he could have been All-Australian, and he's probably one of the best key forwards right now in the comp. So happy all round with the Crows. I know I didn't have them first. I know they were 5 spots away, but this side finished bottom 4 last year, so it's a good call still. Now, in 5th position, the side missing out on the top 4, I have put in GWS. Let's go. Giants. Come on. Come on. Play the celebration music. We've finally gotten a perfect spot. So the Giants on the ladder finished 5th, which means I finally have my first prediction bang on. I've been so good in all the other areas, I just couldn't find a bang on prediction. And it also means that I could actually now be a chance of getting under 30. My previous best score was 46. I got over 80 in 2024. I know it is only the preseason, but they didn't look great at all. I'm a little concerned with their efforts in those 2 10-goal smashings, but hopefully it should be all good. They'll work things out. It's only the preseason. I remember the Giants had a pretty average outing in the preseason. A few people were quick to judge the Giants and had them out the 8 for that. I wasn't so worried. I thought the Giants were still going to be fine. And yeah, they ended up finishing 5th. So ultimately, they had a pretty decent season. To make the top 4, we have Collingwood in 4th position. Who do we have in 4th? We have the Pies. Collingwood in 4th position. Wow. That's 2 predictions bang on in a row. Now, I think the Pies, honestly, in 2025, I think they're back. So, I'm still stuck on 23. A good score, mind you. And yeah, they ended up finishing 4th, the Pies. And I think this is a great call considering they didn't play finals in 2024. I know a lot of people probably had them rising, but how many had them rising in the top 4? How many would have predicted them to finish in that 4th position? I was hot on the Pies and they definitely delivered. Not late, but early they did. Most of their list from their 2023 flag remains the same, and who's to say they can't have another crack at winning it? They really should. And they did. They really did. They seem to be getting their defensive game back as well, obviously bringing in Houston, and he looked awesome against the Tigers in the Pracky match, adding a little bit of a new dynamic in the link-up between him, Quaynor, and Josh Dacos. Houston was a disappointment. That's probably the one thing. If you would have told me Houston would have had the season that he had, I probably would have not had the Pies in the 8. So to do it all without Houston having a great year is a good sign for the Pies. The problem with Collingwood next year, though, aging list clearly is going to show some sort of a sign of probably a decline. Will they still be a top 4 team? I could see them out the 8 next year, but ultimately having them 4th when they'd missed out on finals the year before, I think is a great call. Let's even go 3 in a row, back to back to back, in perfect predictions. In 3rd position, I have the reigning premiers in the Brisbane Lions. I've gone the Lions. They ended up finishing 3rd on the ladder, which means I've gone back to back to back, and the Lions could go back to back to back, winning flags. I am really, really shocked how well... I got told before this that, oh yeah, I've done all right. I'm like, okay, we'll see how well I did. To get 23 after 16 positions, my average is less than 1.5. I mean, maybe it wasn't that difficult of a season to predict. With Brisbane, I think they'll probably drop a few early games, which they seem to do every year. They don't start seasons off amazingly. Shaky start... Plays returning, a bit of a reduced preseason. I don't know if they did have a shaky start. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they would have had a few losses here and there. They are always a side, as of late, that just finds their rhythm and mojo when it matters. And they do it all the time in September, the last couple of years. So, pretty solid. I mean, a lot of people might have had the Lions dropping because some teams that do win the flag fall off in recent years, but the Lions... I just can't see them falling off for a very long time. They just keep getting great guns. Recruited bloody Draper and fucking who else they get? Oscar Allen. Mate, they're going to be good for a long time. Top 2 now, we have the Dockers. I'll be tipping them to make a massive shoot up the ladder and finishing top 2. Fremantle's 2nd is probably my worst call of the video. And it still isn't even that bad. I mean, Freo, they missed out in finals 2024, but a lot of people had them rising up. I had them rising up even higher. I think they are capable of finishing this spot maybe next year or something like that. But, I mean, they still made finals after not making finals. So, kind of like the Collingwood one. Not as great, obviously, ladder-wise as the Collingwood one. But, I mean, I can't fault myself too much. They were only 4 spots away. My worst one has been Adelaide position-wise. And it'll probably be Adelaide for the whole video. And up forward, you know, they've got a miss. They've got Josh Tracy, who broke out in 2024. And they could perhaps become the best key forward duo in the league. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. Would you say they were top 10? Tracy and a miss in 2025? I don't know. I don't think a miss had his greatest year. And Tracy started well, was average-ish in the back end of the year. I don't know if they're top 10. Let me know in the comments. But they definitely weren't the best forward duo in the league. They should be making Optus Stadium a fortress. And they really should be a top 4 side because they've got basically all the talent ready. The 3 sides that shot from the bottom 10 to the top 8 were Adelaide, Collingwood, Freo. I've nailed them all to be top 8 sides. And I don't remember if I've ever done that before at all. I didn't get Gold Coast. Gold Coast would have made it a perfect 4. Now, first spot, I think it's Geelong. It is Geelong. Now, Cats had them in first. They ended up finishing 2nd. But again, with Geelong, it's a safe bet having them top 4. And it's also still pretty good. I think most would have had them around this area, but it's still pretty good. It's 1 spot off again, and it feels like it's been a trend for a lot of these predictions. Been 1 spot off for pretty much every team. Obviously, we all know they picked up Bailey Smith, and I didn't get to see a lot of him in the preseason, but when he joins, he'll have a strong year, I reckon. And they brought in Jack Martin, who could be as well an underrated pickup. He had a strong year than just strong. The Cardi medalist, but off the field, maybe he's causing a few headaches, but that's honestly a discussion for another time. And they do play an extra game at GMHBA Stadium, so that only would help them. You would think they are really dominant at that stadium. Like, it's a good point. More games at GMHBA. They lost only a couple there this year, I think. I think they'll be the best side in the comp. Unless your name is Catman, then I think we can all agree that the Cats weren't the best side this year, but they were bloody close to being the best side, and I had them honestly beating Brisbane in the grand final. But the Geelong call this year, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do next year. After getting smashed in a granny, you know, they probably won't get Kernay, they probably might not get Marshall. Is there going to be a fall-off for Geelong? They're such a well-oiled group that it's pretty unlikely for that to happen. But Geelong in first. So we ended up getting a total amount of 28. That is an average of just over 1.5 a position. I'm challenging anyone out there to do better. Not only is there a creator that has done a better score than me, but is there anyone out there that got a better score than 28 in their ladder predictions? And if you want to know how to calculate the score, you just have the difference between the actual ladder prediction and the predicted ladder prediction. This is literally 3 times as good as last year. Jesus Christ, I don't think that's ever going to be beaten. Now, we had a few other little predictions within the video, so I'm just going to go through them real quick. Rising Star, I think Keiko, if he has a full fit season, he's well within a chance. Luckily, the Rising Star doesn't contribute to the points because Kako was not even close to it. I mean, I think I just fell into the trap of the hype. Realistically, a small forward probably never wins the Rising Star. Rarely they do. So, Kako was probably never going to win it, but whatever. Fuck it. We'll go Riley Thilthorpe. If the Crows are to have a massive year, after coming back from his extended injury, I think he's looked absolutely awesome, and I think he's set for a massive year in 2025. Really not a bad pick here. Thilthorpe was my Coleman medalist in 2025. He was close, but never really was got a chance to win it. But he did start the season off well with a lot of goals. He still had a really good year, but not a bad call because he was sort of a player that sort of shot out of nowhere. And my Brownlow medalist, I've gone a little bit more basic with this one. I've got Nick Dacos. I think he's the best player in the league. To be fair with Dacos, he always is in and amongst. It's a pretty safe bet. Should he have won it? Possibly. I'm going to have a look to see what he got, though. 32. Yeah, would have just needed one more 3-vote game. It's a decent call, but it's a pretty safe call. And then my premiers. So fuck it, we'll go Collingwood. I had the Pies to beat the Cats in the grand final. Now it wasn't that bad. They ended up finishing in a prelim final. The Cats made it a grand final, so I got the Cats losing a grand final correct. I just didn't get the right team. But ultimately, I'm so stoked. Like, genuinely, I'm stoked with that. It's a video I normally dread, but now I can boast for the next 11 months telling everyone that I probably had the best ladder prediction on YouTube. So if there's anyone that had a better ladder prediction than me, drop them in the comments. Let me know. I'll react to them on a stream or something. But because I genuinely feel like, without sounding like an arrogant tosser, that 28 might be one of the best scores there is. So, yeah, that's a video. Cheers, everyone, for watching. And we'll see you very soon for some more content.